Good evening, my dear friends, and welcome to this table of love, a table where we break bread together in unison with the words that we are given each day, words from the cosmic Christ to our heart. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Can we just stop for a minute and listen to those words again? Do not be afraid, for I am with you. What is that saying to your heart? Do not be afraid. Do not be troubled about everything and anything, but trust. Trust. Trust whom? We trust our heart, wherein lives the I am presence of God, the physician of our soul, who calls us to himself, to listen to his voice speak to the heart, not from the mind or the ego, and nor does the voice of Christ or God come through processing. That is a tool of the Antichrist, where you must go away and process. The Christ speaks to your heart and to my heart, and the words are clear and they are simple. So let us dedicate this evening to all here, to your needs, and remember Pam's mom. Remember the brothers and sisters in our community, many of whom are wounded soldiers, hanging in by dear life. Yes. And many are being attacked by the evil one to process God's word instead of surrendering to the heart of God in obedience and taking on board what the vow of providence means, that we will trust even when our back is to the wall, even when all around us is falling down and there's one disaster after another. We will trust, not in what we think we know, but in what the Christ is trying to tell us. And that only comes through listening, through silence, through prayer, and more importantly, through fasting. A dirty word today, to fast. Oh, no. But many light workers are being caught out now. Yes, their weaknesses are finding them out. Let us offer this session, this time together, for the healing within our family, the Teo community, where the members will come and surrender without their own agenda, where they will give selflessly and lovingly to their God in each other. If you have a candle handy, I would dearly love you to light your candle with this candle, because the light represents the cosmic Christ. For he said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am with you, and I know he's here. I can tell he's here. I pray that he's with you, that he's living inside you, and that you are listening to his voice, for it is a voice of love. It is a voice that nurtures your own healing. It is a voice that gives you freedom from guilt and fear, worry and anxiety, and the worry of illness. Be still. Be still and aware that Christ is present here. And I pray in your heart too. Be still. Beautiful words, Miram. I'm guided to come to you from my heart. And I've opened this beautiful manuscript that is my way of life. It is my rule of life. And it is the soul's journey to God. Entering the castle, a blueprint for every child of God, from every religion, from all faiths and none, for it is an invitation to become a mystic and see God. Caroline Myss says this, based on Teresa's work. She said, one of my students remarked casually to me after a castle workshop on the second mansion, I could just avoid all this by stopping this castle work. I looked at her for a moment and thought, could you? Is it possible to walk away from the spiritual life because you want to avoid the challenges that come with it? Then I asked her, well, tell me, then, how will you go about becoming unaware again? Tell me how you intend to stop thinking about your soul's purpose. Interesting question. How do you plan to silence your soul's voice? If you can do that, if you can figure out a way to go backward and be content with a life of ordinary troubles, as opposed to divine chaos, because you will always have chaos, that is a given, then I'll take your workshop. She laughed and decided not to turn back. Understanding how your awakening soul begins to affect your psychic field is a priority in this mansion. You practice heightening your awareness of the presence of God. In the mundane details of your life. You make a practice of seeing God everywhere, in everything, small and large, in every conversation and in every activity of your life. The divine does not intervene only in dramatic acts of healing or in 11th hour interventions, or only in situations that make sense to you. After all, who are you that the world should make sense to you? What if that meant the world would baffle someone else? Let us reflect on those words, because those words are divinely guided and inspired to help the soul embrace their God without fear. Fear is counterproductive for those seeking the light. Fear is a disease, like a cancer to the soul. It is not of God. It is from evil. To dethrone your soul and turn you away from the divine within you, where you will end up only giving lip service to God. How tragic that would be. I want to play this for you. I played it the other evening, and I'm guided to play it again. If only.
All I own, everything I do, I would surrender for one more tender night with you. All that's mine, all that I possess, struggled and paid for, I'd gladly trade for your caress. I live and breathe your memory every day. I'm so afraid in time you'll slip away. Here inside, forever you remain. I'd give up each pleasure and all that I treasure if I could have you back again. I've dreamed of ways that could erase the wrong I've done, but everything I've tried has gone astray. Every night, somewhere in my sleep, my dreams come true. I rendezvous with you. I keep
and I have a rendezvous here in the presence of God, the beloved, and He's calling you to reawaken that love and fall in love with your first love.
I wish that I could change the way you feel and somehow bring it in to my ordeal. My heart sings his old refrain. I could recapture the joy and the rapture if I could have you back again. I could recapture the joy and the rapture if I could have you back again. If only I could have back again.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful words. If I could only have you back again. May I read to you the thought for the day? And these words are from the cosmic Christ to your heart. You are on the path of my choosing. There is no randomness about your life. Here and now comprises the coordinates of your daily life. Most people let their moments slip through their fingers, half-lived. They avoid the present by worrying about the future or longing for a better time and place. They forget that they are creatures who are subject to the limitations of time and space. They forget their Creator, who walks with them only in the present. Every moment is alive with my glorious presence. To those whose hearts are intimately connected with mine, as you give yourself more and more to a life of constant communion with me, you will find that you simply have no time to worry. Thus, you are freed to let my Spirit direct your steps, enabling you to walk along the path of peace. Words from the cosmic Christ to your heart, to your soul. What are they saying to you? What are these words really saying to your heart? That you are on a path of God's choosing. And that God called you by name. And that there is no randomness in your life. Let us reflect in the stillness of this hour. Let us come as we are, a beloved of God. And let us invite the Spirit of God to remove any blocks that are lurking in the shadows of our life. Because in our humanity, we do fall down through fear, through guilt, but we are given an amazing example of what a young man did for us 2,000 years ago when he surrendered his life. Yes, he surrendered his freedom for our freedom. And isn't it tragic that in many of the monasteries and convents, churches, synagogues and temples, that many of God's children are so wounded, so deeply wounded, that they cannot hear the voice of God. And so it is in our own community, where brothers and sisters become wounded through neglect of their soul. Oh yes, it's easy to give lip service to God when you do a live stream like this, or lead morning or evening prayer and sound ever so holy. But then, if we do not practice what we preach, then we stand accused by the Christ when he says, "Woe to those who say, 'Lord, Lord,' but whose hearts are far from me." It's easy to give advice. It's not so easy to accept it, especially on the spiritual journey, because it's so easy to become arrogant and complacent, indifferent and stubborn. It's so easy to give your power to your fear. And all that's asked of me and you is not to surrender to fear, but to surrender to love, selfless love, a love that does not keep a record of wrongdoing, a love that forgives, a love that is tolerant and all-embracing. And I guess we are privileged in our community as Franciscans, for we have some pretty incredible role models in Francis and Clare of Assisi. They would rather starve than to see a brother or sister go hungry. They would rather give their clothes to one of their brothers or sisters who was feverish and cold. They would rather go without so that others could live. And their love wasn't in words, it was in their gentle touch and their warm embrace. Are we up to that challenge today? Is God the Supreme calling you to a life of service as a monastic in your own home, where you give of your life for peace, for unity within the whole family of God, to a life where you become a non-person in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of God, your life matters most. Be still now and invite the cosmic Christ to come to you, because he will not force himself on you. He waits for you to ask, and he will come. As surely as night follows day, he will come, and he'll set you free. You are on the path of God's choosing, not your own. And the moment you say you surrender your heart to God, God holds you to your word. And that means being obedient to the voice of God's love and spirit for you as one in service to God. It is not a cozy journey by all means. It can be a tough journey, learning to deny yourself and say no to those stubborn voices that want to have a lie in, or maybe shut the door on someone who's giving you grief, or maybe to seek retaliation for someone who stood on your corns. When we are called by God to service, it's often in the background where no one sees what we do that brings God the greatest pleasure, because we do it out of love, not out of fear. And as an interfaith Franciscan, we are called to embrace the divine in every child of God, regardless of their color, their belief, or their gender orientation. We are called to love the divine in the wounded and the broken in our world, and not to seek a reward. Be still now. Be still and allow the blessing of God fill you with the love and the peace of God.
Bless you, you've been marvelous to me. Thank you. Everybody needs a little help sometimes. No one stands alone. Makes no difference if you're just a child like me, or a king upon a throne. For there are no exceptions. We all stand in the line. Everybody needs a friend. Let me tell you of mine. He's my forever friend. My leave me never friend. From darkest night to rainbow's end, he's my forever.